I know that the first word that popped up in many people's mind is fake when we come to talk about Chinese building blocks right now. But do you know that Lepin has been shut down 3 years ago and soon it would be the 4th year? Here in China today, we got a lot of other brands doing quite well, but not by faking Lego. And actually, they perform better in some specific ways when comparing to Lego, the top player in this market. I searched through YouTube and found that there isn't much content about these new brands from China, and I've been worked in this field for 5 years after leaving DJI, the drone company. And now I've been working on my own. So I think it could possibly mean something if I can tell you that you may have more options than just Lego, or you're just curious about the comparison itself. So here comes the first episode about why Lego performs better in feeling and instructions. And after this one, I'm going to introduce the aspects where it's a tie between the two and the points that Lego cannot compete with its Chinese competitors. And of course, any comment is welcome here, and you may hit me a subscription if you're curious about the coming content. Alright, the first one, feeling, and that's going to be explained from two aspects, raw material and processing. I'm not quite sure about the specific corresponding word in English to describe that, how your finger feels when it touches the parts. So I'm just going to use feeling to represent it. Before we get to feeling, of course, we're going to dive into the raw material first. However, there wasn't much difference between the names of the raw material that was used by the two, like ABS for most of the parts, PC for the transparent parts, and SBS for those flexible ones. But it is the standards, or say prescriptions, that make the difference. Like we all got ABS here, but for the specification and limit of the impurity, that's not the same. However, we're not going to talk about the chemical here, so here's the example for everyone to understand that the average amount of Lego bricks that can be put onto one Lego brick before it breaks is 375,000. And that is 3,500 meters high, a bit higher than Mount Olympus. As for the bricks from China, especially for those doing fake Lego in early times, their prices are way too reasonable, right? One of the reasons is that drainage opening material and recycled material from other products were used. The drainage opening material is the melt plastic that was left in the mold opening because of the air cooling, so people may break them and use them back into the production. The plastic made of these two kinds of material is more fragile. What's more, some plastic made of industry recycled material could even be poisonous to humans. So it sounds a bit uncomfortable, but do we need to worry about that nowadays? Not at all. Because first, for all the products that you buy from normal channels, there has been specific regulations that protecting the consumers. Secondly, for the Chinese building blocks companies, they are operating the business with brands and marketing sense now. They won't save just that little cost by risking losing their reputation, which needs to be built and maintained in the long term. Thirdly, the production and supply chain of these brands has been integrated into one or two big factories now. There isn't much rat race like before. The raw material is an important factor that decides the final color, texture, touching, quality, and so on. But is it the only decisive factor? Of course, no. Now, come to the important part, processing. The flour can be made both into biscuits and bread. Why? Processing. The most important factor that leads to different feelings between Lego and Chinese building blocks is processing as well. Some consumers mention that the precision is the most obvious difference that we can feel. However, it's not. Plus that, if the precision can solve the trouble, better injection machines could have been applied here in China, which they already existed. And something for you to know that not the brick with Lego logo on its stud is 100% sure to be Lego brand. The fake ones has been spotted early in 2020. What really matters is the design of the structure, edges, and the contact points. Lego strikes a balance between weight, tenacity, clutch power, and surface texture. The design itself has taken processing error and players' installation error into consideration. At the same time, thus may guarantee the proper clutch power between the two parts as well. The diameter of the stud below is slightly longer than the ball size of the internal surface above. However, with the cambered surface on the stud, you may push the brick below into the one above with bare hands. Thus, there will be friction force in vertical direction, with the pressure in horizontal direction between the two. And for information, the best clutch power we mentioned here is different to different people and different ages. If you've been installing bricks for a long time, sure that you may feel hurt for your fingers, but it's not that painful, right? Actually, there's cambered surface on the edge of these bricks, which made it softer to touch and push, and this is for both Lego and Chinese bricks. And there's one more thing for Lego, that not only mirror treatment was used for the two surfaces. Lego may also cut out 0.1mm for length and width, in which case the friction between the two bricks aside is reduced or not even existed because they don't touch. And for all these clutch power, weight, tenacity, touching, texture, power feedback, cambered surface, and even the sound integrates into the word feeling. And for the technical components, there will be greater difference because of the movement. You may get to another video that I shot before if you're interested. There's a saying that the Lego brick produced in 1958 can still be connected to the parts today. It's correct on some conditions. Here I found an experiment that two bricks may not connect with each other after 37,112 times connections. I found the conclusion that the clutch power is to be on its best level after 8 to 10 times connected on and off. Thus, the friction is to be the strongest by its first time connected, and it's the only time for most of the Lego parts. However, if you've picked two bricks on either side of the manufacturing areas, like 5 micrometers longer, the connection could be too tight or too tense, or too loose, vice versa. There is such case for Lego, it's just a matter of probability. So back to the compatibility between early and modern parts. Why it's not 100% correct? First, if you ever played with some very early sets or parts, you'll find that the early parts connection is more tense for most of the occasion, like the Technic Milestone 8880 produced in 1994. There exist friction sounds like when you are connecting two parts, but no such sounds when connecting modern parts. Obviously, the prescription changed. Secondly, though the Lego part itself is very stable, but the design of the part didn't remain the same. Let's take 3001 as example, with 6 of which you may have 900 million kinds of combinations. The design of 3001 changed several times for reasons like environmental protection, saving plastic, or just cutting the cost. Here I found that Lego also started to recycle plastic cap to produce bricks now, so we don't need to take recycled plastic as something bad. It's quite normal in this field. Back to the design changes of 3001, as you can see from the picture here, that it becomes thinner. There's bumps on the hole, and there are 2 reinforcing ribs here. With the ribs here, of course, you can't install specific parts below this part now, at least in the illegal way. As for the bricks from Chinese companies, someone mentioned that the connection can be too loose or too tense at the same time for the same package of parts. Is that a double standard? Well, sounds like a bias, but it's not. This kind of problem may really happen among the same batch or even one bag of parts, and the reasons to be blamed are the manufacturing error and quality check. As we mentioned before, that the Chinese companies have the ability to reach that position with their injection machines, but there still exist 2 problems before mass production. The first thing is the design for details. I'm sure that the factories and professionals in China have known well about these designs, but if we want to put that into mass production, we need the mold. And molding is a very systematic industry that you need to view mold as a whole. Like you solved issue A, then comes issue B, and sometimes issue C, which you dealt with before, comes back again. Then why don't these factories just copy Lego's mold directly? After all, the copyrights expired a long time ago. However, Lego is still coming up with new copyrights to protect his business empire, and there's more than one copyright for one part. Secondly, more than just the mold, there's also problems for material, production, quality check and control, etc. That's all cost. The bricks produced by the Chinese head factory have reached 80 of 100 now, but as for the gap between 80 to 90 and 90 to 100 is totally different. Then, let's say, if the Chinese building blocks companies have optimized their parts and they are just as good as Lego, are you gonna buy them? Of course, no. The majority of players in China had the same idea, because it's not only the bricks themselves that supporting brand premium of Lego. There's something else like instructions, IPs, the design, etc. For Chinese building block companies, processing is not a technical problem, but an economic issue. If I sell at $5 with cost at $2, I earned $3. And if I sell at $10 with cost at $8, I only got $2. And the sales amount with different prices, of course, are different. It takes a bit long for us to talk about processing, and it is here that I decided to divide the whole comparison into 4 episodes. Remember to subscribe if you're interested in more content. Now let's speed up to get to the next aspect that LEGO performs better: instruction. We mentioned a lot of factors that supporting the brand premium, and apart from the feeling of the parts, another key factor of the user experience is instruction. So instruction is just about the quality and the chromatic aberration of the pages and the installation logic of the steps. Quality of the paper, well, not much to mention. The chromatic aberration, that may have a bad effect on kids who are trying to find the correct part to assemble. And the installing logic is about the orders of installation, how to get the correct location or correct stud or hole, and how to change the view angle. LEGO may divide the steps into very specific details. There will be no more than 3 steps on one page for most of the occasions. And there are some sub-models that break the whole long journey into milestones, so players may get more achievements. Before, the Chinese companies, especially in the early age, may put 4 or even more steps on one page just in order to save cost. And for some long bricks and lift arms that need 1-to-1 ratio picture to help kid distinguish, the size of the picture is reduced. And for the unreasonable steps, it's been a long-term problem. However, LEGO doesn't play a 10 of 10 perfect game as well. It's just a matter of percentage. Some Chinese companies had introduced 3D rendered building instructions on smart devices years ago, like the company I used to work for. It's good for adult players, however, it's not a good point for the kids who cannot control themselves very well. Like you ask them to build blocks, so you may find them playing Genshin. But there's no doubt that Chinese building block companies are making a great progress for the instruction now. Okay, now we got 3 aspects: raw material, processing, instruction, and we explained feeling. Well, how may I name it in English? I'm not that sure. While I'm drafting the copy, I also heard other voices like Chinese companies are doing better in printed parts, and some brands are doing even better than LEGO in terms of instructions. And some say that the unseen part, the interior design of the model, LEGO obviously does better. However, because of the time and budget limit, I'm not gonna dive into that and check. Plus, I still got 3 episodes to go. It's been too long for the first one already. So if you are interested in this topic, the overall comparison between LEGO and Chinese building blocks, to make it easier for you to choose, or at least to tell you that you can actually have more options than just LEGO, hit me a like and subscribe for more content. You may also come to Bilibili and find me with more people discussing about this topic there. That's been it, and see you in the next one.